Hi, I'm Deb and Thomas Treadwell, one of the directors and founders of the Retrievers Volunteer Lost Dog Team in Minnesota, USA. Today I'm going to walk you through how we make the latest version of our Missy Trap, which we call the Missy 4 or the Kennel Missy. As you can see, the Missy 4 uses a pre-constructed commercially available dog kennel as the basis of the trap, making it the easiest and quickest version of the Missy to date. Before we get into the actual build, let's take a look at how the Missy has evolved since its very beginning. When the Missy Trap was first invented, the four founders of the Retrievers were volunteering for a golden retriever rescue organization here in Minnesota. One of the adopted dogs went missing, and she had refused to enter a conventional box trap. So Greg James invented the Missy. The original Missy Trap used livestock panels with a 4-inch by 4-inch mesh and a bait system where the dog would pull on a rope on bait at the back of the trap, and that would trigger the gate to fall closed. Now, we quickly learned as we worked on more lost dog cases that some dogs absolutely refused to go near the rope. They were freaked out about it, whether it was hanging or even on the ground. And so Greg then invented the Ray Tripper, which uses a light beam from like a garage door sensor and an electromagnet. The sensor provided power to the magnet, and the magnet holds the door open. When the dog walks through the beam at the back of the trap, it cuts the power to the magnet and the door drops closed. That addition of the Ray Tripper to the first Missy Trap, we call the Missy 2. By this time, we realized our mission was much bigger than just catching dogs for this golden rescue, and so we split off and made our own nonprofit organization called the Retrievers, and we were being asked to catch dogs of all sizes. And so the third version of the Missy Trap, we made some major improvements, including a smaller mesh, a 2-inch by 4-inch mesh. We also changed from a drop gate to a side swing gate, because we saw that some dogs don't like to step over a threshold, and they don't like the overhead, the door hanging above their head when they're trying to enter the trap. So that was the Missy 3. And now we come to the Missy 4. This is basically a Missy 3, except made from a commercially available kennel. What makes a trap a true Missy Trap? Well, first of all, it's modular. It's constructed out of panels, so you can add and subtract panels as you need them. Secondly, it's self-triggered. Every version of the Missy Trap, the dog triggers the gate itself. Nobody needs to be there to pull a rope or otherwise manually release the gate. Thirdly, it's completely flexible. You can shape a Missy Trap in any configuration that you want based on the particular needs of your trapping situation. So you'll notice these commercially available kennels usually have a square upright, and they provide these clamps that are square in shape for connecting panels together. The disadvantage of these is that you can only put the panels either in line or at right angles to each other because of the shape of that clamp. So in order to have all the flexibility of a true Missy Trap, we recommend that you get a set of these, they're called saddle clamps. They make them for chain link posts, which are round typically. With these round clamps instead of the square, you can pivot these panels at any angle and then tighten it back up. And that will give you all the flexibility of a Missy Trap made from livestock panels, but with these pre-made commercially available panels. So let's take a closer look at the trap as it's fully assembled here. You'll see that even though these kennels usually come in a 4 by 8 foot standard configuration, we've added 2 panels on either side to the back of this trap to extend this from 8 feet to almost 12 feet long. Having an extra long trap like this ensures that there's distance from the beam to the gate, and the dog won't be able to make it back to the opening before the gate closes. You'll also notice that we have a net on top. We recommend a net as opposed to a tarp because it's more open and inviting looking. And you do want something over the top here because there are dogs that could scale over this 5-foot panel. if they were so inclined. At the back of the trap, this is the ray tripper. The sensor is inside this box. It is being powered by a 12-volt battery right next to it. Now, because there's power to this magnet, it is gripping this metal plate right here. We've got the door being held open by that connection, that magnetic connection. And because of these bungee cords, there's tension on the door, and once that connection is broken, this door will slam shut. Converting a kennel into a Missy 4 trap is really just a matter of attaching 3 gate latches to the inside of the gate. These latches are the same simple latches that we've used on all the versions of our Missy Trap. We attach them by first bolting on a small block of wood and then screwing the latch into the wood. These blocks of wood are cut from 1x4 pieces of pine. We've painted them just to look a little nicer and provide some protection from the elements, but you don't even have to do that much. We do recommend 3 latches on the door, 1 in the middle, 1 at the top, and 1 at the bottom. This redundancy helps ensure that if one of the latches should fail, the dog still won't be able to get out. The other thing to notice is that the gate opens up next to the side panel. You don't want to put the kennel together in such a way that the gate is opening into the middle of the trap. You want that magnet and sensor to be positioned next to each other, so the gate should open right next to the side panel. So my colleague Jen Eidbo is going to help me with this next step because we need 4 hands if we're going to videotape this. What we've done here is we've taken the blocks that we've cut out and we've positioned them along the inside of the gate. Remember that you're working with the inside, so if you had this nameplate to the outside before when the trap was set up, you want to make sure that's facing down. You also want to make sure that you have put the clamps about 1 foot up, because you're going to need that room to put them here, and then the latches will go right there. Now, Jen will explain how she's lined these up and what she's about to do.
All right, so these wooden pieces that have been cut to fit here, you want to center those right on the frame of the trap and somewhere in the middle of the trap. Because there's going to be 3 latches, so you want them to cover as much as this space as possible. So we're going to center those over top. You're going to use clamps to hold them in place. So once you get that clamp on there, it moved a little bit, so there is a little wiggle room so you can get that centered exactly on. You don't want to go too close to the edges of your trap, otherwise that's going to compromise the overall installation when you put the nuts and bolts on.
And notice how the block will center really nicely right along a row. You want to make sure you're not drilling next to a wire.
Okay, and then we're going to put this inner clamp on.
If you don't have clamps like these, you can use a C-clamp. You can also have someone else just hold those very tightly as you're drilling, but it is very important that those holes line up to the center of the frame, as Jen explained. And if everything's cut properly, you will also have that nice gap in between the 2 blocks.
We're going to drill a pilot hole first.
Use a sharp drill bit, by the way. It's a lot easier in metal.
And you would just want to make sure that you're over top and going straight through. Okay, so now that we've drilled our holes, we're all set to place our wood brackets in. So we have 1/4 inch hex nut bolts, and we're gonna put those straight through. We'll go to the back side here. We're gonna put our washer on. And then fasten that on. Okay, so now that we have the wood brackets on, we're gonna go ahead and attach the latch. What we're gonna do is, I just have a regular nail. I'm just gonna mark these holes on this latch.
Right in the
And
center.
I'm just piercing the center here. So now we're going to attach the latch. We want to make sure that this clip on the latch is pointing straight up towards the top of the door. So you don't want to install it this way, otherwise this will always hang downward and it won't come over top to latch. So we're going to put this on here. We have our screws right here.
Now that we have the latches on the gate, we've attached the gate panel back onto the trap, and then Jenna's going to show you how to finish it up.
So now we're going to attach the latch clip. So we're just going to hold this here. We haven't drilled any holes yet, but we're going to clip it into the latch, and it's nice and snug there. Now we're just going to make sure that that is straight on your wooden bracket. Now that I have the latch clip seated exactly right, so it comes in good contact with that latch, I'm going to go ahead and mark the middle of these holes. All right, and
one thing that I'll add here is that, you know, Jenna's installed this so that it hits perfectly. If yours is a little off, you know, because you're going into wood, it is more forgiving, and you can move that latch as needed. So, easy peasy. Lastly, you'll need 3 bungee cords to provide the tension that pulls this gate closed. One end of the bungee cords will attach to the outside of the gate panel. They wrap around the outside of the trap, and then the other side attaches to the side panel. You'll want 3 of them and position them so that they're relatively level or even with the gate latches, and that will make sure you have even torque on the gate as it closes. I'm going to have my dog Zach demonstrate how the trap works. You'll see him walk to the back of the trap where he'll break the beam and the gate will close. And that's how to build a Missy 4. If you have any questions, just post a comment in the YouTube video and we'll be happy to help you out. Do you want to get out? Do you want to get out? Okay. There you go, buddy. Okay.